name is Rose Gawthorpe, and I am one of the writers and producers of this audio drama. I would like to welcome you to the 4th season of the Wessex dramas called The Well-Beloved. This is the first season in our seaside trilogy of Hardy novels, a romance set on the island of Portland, or as Hardy called it, the Isle of Slingers. This is our last episode of this particular season, and I would love to shout out our brilliant and patient editor, Liam MacArthur. You can find his work on his YouTube channel, One Time I Dreamt. I hopefully have put the link in the description. Just a note to say, last year's short films have been invited to enter the Tokyo International Short Film Festival, which is very exciting. I have almost finished the director's cut of last year's. Send help, I am so sorry. And I'm currently putting them up on YouTube, slowly. We also have the last day left of filming for this year's short film anthology. So one more day to go, and then the whole cycle of editing starts again. Anyway, let us dive back into one last time into the Old English world of Thomas Hardy's Wessex.
The kitchen of Jocelyn's house on the Isle of Slingers. Avis I is removing her hat and small jacket while Budgeons hovers nervously and remonstratingly around her. She dismisses his reservations, gets an apron out of her bag and ties it on herself. She tells him to fill the kettle and she gets a couple of bottles of tinctures out of her bag, which she puts on the dresser. The bedroom of Jocelyn's house on the Isle of Slingers. It's night time. There's one oil lamp burning as Avis sits by Jocelyn's bed and changes the wet cloth on his forehead. Jocelyn is delirious and fevered. He's muttering in his sleep. The kitchen of Jocelyn's house. It's daytime. Avis is at the sink, wringing out a small pile of damp cloths. The doctor comes into the kitchen from the hallway carrying his bag. Budgeons, who is putting the kettle on the range, looks up.
What is the news, Doctor?
The doctor looks severe. That's pneumonia, I'm afraid. If he's to pull through, he'll need dedicated and constant nursing. Avis nods.
We'll have that, Doctor.
The physician looks around and sees her over by the dresser. Ah, Mrs. Weston. Well, if he's got you as a nurse, he's just might make it.
Thank goodness for that. It was me nursing otherwise.
Is that hot water ready, Mr. Budgeons? Doctor, I imagine that Mr. Pierston will be settling with you when he recovers?
She starts to unpack the bag further. The doctor opens the door. Certainly. No hurry, no hurry. Good day to you. He tips his hat and leaves. The bedroom in Jocelyn's house on the Isle of Slingers. It's night time. Jocelyn is lying back, half propped up in his bed. He is a nasty pale blue around the lips and is breathing stertorously and with difficulty. There is a kettle boiling away on the fire and the room is full of steam. Budgeons comes in carrying yet another full kettle. He walks across and replaces the first kettle. Budgeons addresses Avis, who is dabbing Jocelyn's forehead with a cloth.
Should he be propped up like that?
He needs to drain.
What if all this steam upsets his lungs?
I've got to get the air going into his lungs to the same heat that his lungs normally are.
Budgeons walks back towards the door with the old kettle.
I don't know that deadly nightshade stuff was safe, though, you know.
Avis dismisses him irritably out of the room with her hand.
Mr. Budgeons, you do your buttling and I'll do my nursing, all right?
Budgeons sighs.
All right, Mrs. Weston.
He looks regretfully once more at Jocelyn and goes out. Avis strokes back Jocelyn's hair and looks anxiously at him. She addresses him, although he's unconscious.
Look, you great round shacklum St. Paul. You've just come back to us. Don't doubt your flame now.
She looks out of the window and tries to blink back her tears. The bedroom of Jocelyn's house on the Isle of Slingers. It's daytime. Avis is half snoozing in an armchair by a largely dead fire. It is only late dawn and the birds have just started. Jocelyn stirs and suddenly awakes groggily and half raises his head from the pillow.
Avis?
Avis jolts awake and gives a cry.
Jocelyn!
She leaps up and hurries over to him. He drops his head back on the pillow and looks up at her.
I thought it was you.
She smiles at him.
Well, it was either Avis or Avis. You could have taken your pick.
He half smiles and shakes his head weakly.
I'm grateful for any of you.
Avis hurries around the bed, opens the door and calls through the doorway.
Mr. Budgeons! Mr. Budgeons! He's all right.
There's the sound of feet hurrying up the stairs. Avis returns, smiling, to the side of the bed and feels Jocelyn's temperature via his forehead.
Are there any sausages?
The kitchen of Jocelyn's house on the Isle of Slingers. It's daytime. Jocelyn is standing near to Avis the First, and Avis is putting on her coat and hat. It's raining lightly outside. There's a knock on the door. Avis the Third lifts the latch and enters, unannounced. She is quite noticeably pregnant now.
Hello, Mr. Pierston. Glad to see you're better now. I've just come to help Gran carry her things home.
She starts picking up some jute bags from off the floor near the door. Jocelyn starts forward and starts to take them from her, but Avis the Third snatches them back.
Hello, Avis. No, Budgeons will take those. You shouldn't be carrying, nor your Gran.
Avis the First snatches the remaining parcel from Jocelyn.
Don't be ridiculous, Jocelyn. If she weren't here, she'd be standing in the pouring rain, gutting and insulting otherwise.
Well, let me call you a cab then. You're not walking back in this weather.
Avis rolls her eyes and opens the door, chivying out her granddaughter.
We'd have been there and back by the time he arrived.
She suddenly pecks him on the cheek.
Glad to see you're better.
She smiles mischievously at Budgeons, who has just come into the kitchen with a pile of folded sheets.
Budgeons was quite Twankington without you.
Budgeons' eyebrows raise in puzzlement. The two women laugh and go out. The kitchen of Avis the First's house. It's daytime. Avis is putting the kettle on the range and Jocelyn is standing there before her, twiddling his straw hat uncomfortably. Avis puts down the kettle and turns around with her hands on her hips in complete surprise.
Marry me.
Yes.
Haven't we been here before?
Yes.
He puts his head down in shame.
Well, that didn't end too well, did it?
No.
He looks up.
But you don't have to love me.
I don't.
But just as a sort of companion and housekeeper. It's just that we would be more in an even part instead of employer and employed, and you might like it.
What? You and your dirty socks?
Budgeons can do those, and
the wood chopping, heavy cleaning, and some of the laundry?
yes, anything, and you do like me a bit, don't you?
Avis looks up with a roguish grin.
I might.
Jocelyn comes towards her, but she puts an arresting hand out.
Might what? Be my wife? Or like me?
She shrugs insouciantly.
Maybe. Both?
He smiles and makes to come towards her again, hopefully, but she sternly points to the chair.
Sit. Tea?
Jocelyn immediately sits and looks up with a radiant smile at her.
Yes.
A Ginnel on the Isle of Slingers. It's daytime. Jocelyn is walking down the Ginnel carrying a parcel when Avis II comes towards him from the other end. She waves and comes up to him.
Jocelyn, hello. Good to see you better. Is this true, though?
Hello, Avis. Sorry?
He looks all innocence.
You know, marrying my mother.
She glares and puts her hands on her hips.
Well...
You couldn't get me, so you went back for my mother again then, eh?
No, it wasn't like that.
She suddenly smiles, leans across and pecks him on the cheek.
Don't get in a flummox, you girt lummox. I'm only cleaning you.
Jocelyn sags and smiles weakly. She turns around, takes his arm and walks him away down the Ginnel.
You set a date then?
Oh, that's up to your mother.
Their voices fade.
Budgeon's staying.
I hope so.
You wearing white lace?
What?
Jocelyn's house on the Isle of Slingers. It's daytime. The door opens and Jocelyn stands there with Avis. He has just unlocked the door. They are just dressed in smart summer day wear, with Avis in a print gown, small dark jacket and a small straw hat. Jocelyn makes as if to pick her up, but Avis looks with surprised ridicule at him.
What are...
Well, I haven't been married before, so I wanted to do it the right way.
With this, ancient hag? Oh, don't be ridiculous. Ah!
He swoops her up and carries her in, depositing her gently down in the kitchen. Avis, jokingly huffy, readjusts her hat.
The very notion. Good job you gave Budgeons a few days off. I wouldn't have lived it own.
You're my wife now, Avis, and you don't have to live anything down in our new home.
She sits down, and he fills and then puts the kettle on the range.
I do feel bad, though, about us making away and marrying without telling your own Avises the actual date.
Avis is removing her hat and smoothing her hair. She then removes her little jacket, stands up and hangs it up.
I don't. I didn't want them thinking as how they'd have to spend money they don't have on celebrations and silly presents. We'll drop in tomorrow and tell them. Did you make up my bed in the spare room?
Yes, yes.
Good. Then I'll make us a nice steak for dinner and we can have a little walk out afterwards.
Jocelyn, who is assembling a tea tray, nods and smiles earnestly. Avis goes up to him and kisses him on his cheek.
Hello, my husband.
She takes the tea caddy out of his hands.
Tea?
The stone quarry. It's daytime. Jocelyn is inspecting the huge sections of limestone. He stands up and rubs his back whilst he smiles and gazes out to sea. The upper part of a stone quarry on the Isle of Slingers. It's daytime. Jocelyn is standing near a hut discussing the payment and delivery of a piece of stone with the quarry manager. There is a lot of arm waving and a small cart trundles past, pulled by 2 cobs and accompanied by 2 men leading and encouraging them. There are various dusty quarrymen coming and going with their picks and shovels. The studio of Jocelyn's house on the Isle of Slingers. It's daytime. Jocelyn is chipping away, forming a plinth for the small statue which stands at the moment as an unformed lump on the top. The sun comes in through the large window and the birds are heard singing. Jocelyn is happy and whistles timelessly to himself. A small cove on the beach. It's daytime. Jocelyn and his wife are having a picnic. Jocelyn is reclining alongside of the tablecloth, drinking white wine, and Avis is sitting on the nearby rug, spreading meat paste onto a cracker, which he then eats.
You know, I finally got both of my well-beloveds.
Avis swallows the cracker and then sips her wine.
Both?
Yes. My life's companion.
What's left of it and her?
And the concept for my well-beloved statue.
Which is?
Aha! You'll have to wait and see.
Avis stands up and starts removing her stockings. She then double kilts her outer longer skirt into her waistband and walks towards the water. She then smiles and puts her hands on her hips challengingly.
Are you be a taking me for my first wifey paddle then, my husband?
Jocelyn leaps up and takes her hand. He's already removed his socks and rolled up his trousers previously.
That I be, old girl.
The studio of Jocelyn's house on the Isle of Slingers. It's daytime. Jocelyn is furiously chiselling a small statue which now stands on the plinth. He has the 2 what seem to be female legs, with a bit of a skirting up to the knees. The sitting room of Jocelyn's house on the Isle of Slingers. It's daytime. Jocelyn is standing talking with Avis's family. Avis II has 3 girls, of which Avis III is one. Avis III has her baby in her arms. Everyone is standing around a plinth with a cover over the top of its crowning statue. Budgeon is going around pouring champagne into glasses for everyone. Avis I steps to the front and makes a little introduction. Everyone laughs. She then whips off the cloth and proposes the toast to the well-beloved. Her family all then raise their glasses and respond, "The well-beloved." They drink and clap Jocelyn on his back. He smiles embarrassedly. The small statue on the plinth is of a young woman, but she's a fisher girl, not a classical beauty. She stands with a mischievous grin on her face and her hands on her hips. Her skirts are all kilted up to show her legs to the knees. Avis gives her husband a big smile and nods her head. On Weymouth Beach, it's daytime. Avis I is sitting on a large picnic rug with the remains of a picnic before her. She is watching the paddling with amusement. There are 2 big footmen standing at a little distance behind her, near to 2 big wicker picnic hampers. They are looking impassively out to sea. Summers is holding the hand of his youngest 13-year-old daughter as they paddle tentatively into the water. It's cold and he's whining while his daughter laughs at him. The other 3 older teenaged and early 20s Summers girls are paddling and splashing each other with glee. Mrs. Summers is remonstrating with their wetting their clothes, and herself testing the water with her toes with distaste and apprehension. Jocelyn, who is also paddling, waves merrily back to Avis, who responds similarly. The study of Jocelyn's house. It's daytime. Jocelyn is sitting writing. There's a knock, and Budgins shows the mayor in. Jocelyn stands up, shakes hands, and shows the mayor to a seat near his desk. Jocelyn reseats himself.
Avis said you were coming, Mr. Mayor. Can I help you?
I hope so, Mr. Pierston. It's just that you being a professional man and a draftsman, we wondered if you would help us by drawing up some plans to sort out this drainage problem we have in Easton.
Jocelyn looks surprised.
Well, I know nothing about plumbing, sir, but if you'll explain to me what you want, I will certainly have a go. I'd be delighted. Just so long as you don't hold it against me if I get things wrong.
The mayor laughs.
Not at all, Mr. Pierston. Not at all.
A back lane in Easton on the Isle of Slingers. It's daytime. The mayor, Jocelyn, and 3 other men are all leaning over, inspecting a culvert, whilst also consulting a large plan that Jocelyn is showing to them. Great interest is shown by all. The garden of Jocelyn's house. It's daytime. Weekend afternoon tea is in progress. Jocelyn and Avis are sitting at the table on the lawn. Avis II is remonstrating with her 14-year-old daughter, who is taking too large a bite of cake and then eating with her mouth open. Her husband then guiltily closes his own cake-filled mouth as well. Avis III is dandling a 6-month-old infant on her knee. William, her husband, is holding the hands of and bending double over a 1.5-year-old toddler as it attempts to walk. He's aided by Avis II's other 17-year-old daughter, the toddler's auntie, who laughingly encourages the toddler in its attempts. Jocelyn regards the toddler with fondness. He then looks at Avis.
You know, I never thought I'd have the blessing of a family.
Avis smiles in playful reproof.
And do you deserve it, after your wickedness to me?
She hands him a cream cake on a plate.
No, but I'll never be wicked to you again, my well-beloved...
Ah, not that name! We finished with that name now.
My dear?
Avis smiles.
That will do.
They both smile then in fondness at the toddler which has finally managed to do a clear run across the grass to the arms and the delight of its papa. Jocelyn looks over to Avis, but he sees the beautiful Nereid half standing and bending over with her auburn hair in a waterfall, fastening her sandals with her foot on a rock near some fish netting. His jaw drops and he stares as she stands up and refastens her hair back into a bun on the back of her head. She is Avis, and her silk chiffon scarf falls back against her sea-green linen gown. She turns her head and smiles at him.
That was the last episode of The Well Beloved. I think it wrapped up quite satisfactorily. We had fun trying to make the protagonist a little bit less objectionable, since the original one was a little bit, well, I think we succeeded. What do you think? I would also like to thank our editor, Liam MacArthur, for sticking through this job in his fabulousness and skills and ear for detail, and again, check out his YouTube channel, One Time I Dreamt. Link in the description. I would also like to thank our brilliant, glorious, and amazing cast. Alban O'Brien, Peter Allison, Scott Munrow, Annalina Gaggiano, Caro Joy, Olivia Watson, Robin Lee, Izzy Joy, James Heseltine, John Simpson, Catherine Dyer, Mark Joy, and Tony Lee, and... Did I already mention John Seal? I hope I mentioned John Seal. He's being mentioned again if not. I wrote this very poorly. I probably should have checked this. Anyway, you can find us on YouTube under Rose Goldthorpe Films. We are on Spotify and Google Podcasts and the Thomas Hardy Society website, also on our Wessex Drama website. If you want more updates on what's going on with our podcast and general projects, follow Rose Goldthorpe on Instagram, Facebook, or sign up to our Wessex Dramas / General Shenanigans newsletter. Again, thank you so much for your hard work and support and kindness. We have more adaptations of Thomas Hardy's novels in the pipeline, as well as starting off with adaptations of Walter Scott's novels. Before any of you ask, no, I don't sleep very much. Bye!